my family, they eventually moved to New York. But I stayed in San Diego because I went to school there, and then I basically just pursued my career in San Diego, in California. Yeah.
So how many years did you stay in the U.S.?
25 years.
25 years, wow.
Yeah.
You guys moved there in the 1980s or
1980s, yeah.
1980s?
Yeah.
Was it was it a difficult transition for you, or were you able to integrate into the culture, American culture, fairly easily?
It wasn't really that hard. Well, it's yes or no. It wasn't that hard in terms of language because we already spoke language in the Philippines. We spoke English in the Philippines, so the language wasn't too hard. What was hard is the accent. Number one, obviously Filipino English is so much more accented than American English, so that's one thing we kind of struggled with a little bit is the accent. But no big deal though. There's so many, especially California, so many immigrants. So culture-wise, I think because Philippines is such a westernized nation, the culture wasn't such a big change, I suppose.
Yeah, there was the military. There was an American military base.
Not just that, but the Philippines was also an American colony for a long time. And then eventually after World War II, Philippines was granted independence.
Oh, okay. So how did most Filipinos look or consider Americans in terms of, their presence in the Philippines? I mean, you're just talking about the time that in your lifetime.
In my lifetime.
Things like that.
Well, in my lifetime, Filipinos worshipped Americans. Everything American, In Hollywood is to blame for that, So everybody wants to be James Dean. Everybody wants to be John Wayne, that kind of thing, right? So yeah, I mean, Philippines was very much into American culture, which was easier for me. It made it easy for me to adjust to living in America.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, a lot of Filipinos were moving to America during that time. It was a thing,
Yeah. My first actually contact with a lot of Filipinos is when we moved to Hawaii, because I had a lot of Filipino friends and whatnot. But like in California, did you ever feel that there was any type of a discrimination at all, or because you were Asian, that you
For
experienced
sure.
there?
Yeah, in the late 80s to 90s, I mean, there was a lot, California is not, it may be a melting pot, but it's probably one of the most racist states I've ever known of.
Really?
Yeah, because it's so blatant. It's so blatant. People will call me chink. People will call me gook. People will actually separate. There would be Filipino gangs. There'll be Mexican gangs. There'll be black gangs, white gangs, and it's very defined.
Wow.
Dating girls, for example, was like, you'd ask a girl out and be like, no, I don't date Asian guys. I mean, that kind of thing.
Right,
I mean, that,
right.
That's as racist as you can get, right?
Right.
When someone gives you an answer like, I don't want to date you because you're Asian. It'd be one thing if they said, I don't want to date you because you're ugly, but because you're Asian, that's a whole different ballgame, right? So things like that. I mean, that was very prevalent back then, but it was, we didn't live in a woke society back then. So people are like, it's like matter of fact, people are like, okay, well, it is what it is. It is what it is. And if you don't like it, you don't like it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, it never really bothered you if girls turned you down, or, I mean, in terms of your own identity, self-identity?
It did bother me, It did bother me, obviously. And it did bother me when some girls I really like didn't want to give me a chance because I'm Asian,
Right.
So flat out, tells me I don't date Asian guys. They have small peckers. Things like those,
Right.
Yeah. Stereotype, yeah, which is not true, right?
People,
So,
right.
but it's just that, it's just one of those things. And it bothered me quite a bit, and it got to a point where even I'm guilty of that too. I stopped like associating with Asians, probably to make myself feel better, that I'm not one of them,
Right.
so I started hanging out with mainly like white dudes, whatever. So all my friends were like white, and then I was dating only white girls, you know. Not that I wasn't attracted to Asian girls, but it's just that I just put blinders on myself,
Right.
and I thought that if I can get in on the white crowd, that I'd be more accepted.
Right.
I wanted to break that mold kind of thing, which looking back now, I totally regret, but but it was very
It's a
ridiculous.
process.
It's
Yeah.
ridiculous, it's ridiculous. Why would I think like that? But, that's how, that's how frustrating it was. That's how racism impacted me.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think back about my time, and we also moved to the States around that period of time, 80 something. But in my school, there was only a couple of other Asians, And so I wasn't ever around that many Asians. So my friends were naturally just more white. And I never thought about that in terms of, trying to be with white people as part of my identity, because I think I didn't have a choice. But in terms of dating wise too, I felt like I always dated white guys. I never dated an Asian guy until after I moved to Hawaii, which is quite multinational. And even then I dated a half white and Asian,
Yeah.
person. So
Yeah, I mean, we were sort of socially conditioned to think that white is better.
yeah,
And
yeah,
if there's white blood in it, it's a good, it's a good way to build up your bloodline, is to introduce some Caucasian blood in it. That kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah. Boy, in San Diego is like that. Like a lot of girls, especially like some of the prettiest Asian girls that I remember in college, for example, they were only into white guys. You know, yeah, or that, or they'll go with they'll date like really really rich Asian guys.
right.
Yeah, but their eyes would still be on white guys. So
Yeah, because I think that makes a difference. It does make a difference because, the eyes are different, the hair is different, everything is different. And
but remember, it's conditioning.
Yes.
It's conditioning, right? So Hollywood has conditioned people to think that white is better.
better.
White is more attractive.
Yeah.
You're a white guy, you're a Hollywood star, that kind of thing. You're a movie star. It's like that movie star thing. Back in the 80s and 90s, there's no Asian big star in Hollywood.
Right.
And magazines, for example, you don't see Asians like grace the magazines, the front page of the magazines. Sexiest man alive, all white guys. So it's that kind of conditioning that, obviously, I don't blame people for wanting to date white guys, girls. Girls. I mean, I dated white girls too. I only preferred white girls because, I guess we were all conditioned that way.
Yeah.
So yeah. It wasn't until I moved to Asia that I you know what? I'm actually into Asian girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because at least for Hollywood, the image, it's starting to have Asian as prominent, and they can be starring roles that are Asian men, leading roles now that are Asian men. But back then, yeah, it's
Sure, but that's
20
because
years,
of the
20
market.
40 years it's been.
Asians get to enter the race.
Yeah.
They get to enter the popularity race because of money. I'm telling you, nothing has changed since the 80s. Nothing has changed. I know a lot of Asian guys back then. I was in it as well. I was in the whole Asian circle, and it was a very small circle back then. And the same guys get reused over and over and over again. And but they're always bad guys, and they're always stunt actors, or they're always like, for women, they're always like the hooker or the mama-san, or or the other woman, or that kind of thing.
Right.
The sex object for women, and for the guys, it'd be the bad guy.
Yeah.
But they were working like crazy. Who is the most legendary and the most sought after and the guy with the most number of roles on in movies and TV? This guy named Al Leong. He's this guy you've probably seen back in the 70s and 80s. Sort of almost balding, but long hair. And the
Fu Manchu mustache.
yeah, mustache. Do you know?
Stereotyping,
Yeah, stereotype.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
man, he is so rich. I remember seeing him in one set of a of a series that I was working in, and he did this thing, and I wanted to talk to him after the stuff after we wrapped for the end of the day, but when he finished his scene, and we didn't need him anymore. He was out. He was gone right away. So I asked another of the guys. I said, "Where's Al?" He goes, "Oh, he's got like two other movies to go to right now. In one day, he was working in two movies. I mean, three projects.
Was he in?
He was jumping back and forth.
So was he background, or was he had speaking roles, or I mean,
He some of them he was never background. He was always the henchman.
right?
He's everyone's favorite henchman. So he wasn't just an extra. He was a stuntman. He was an actor. Sometimes he'd have speaking roles. Sometimes he won't. But he's a SAG actor because he's had speaking roles. I think he was working for Warner, and he was a grip. He was just a crew member, and then that time, I think the director needed someone to teach the two lead actors, two female actors, some martial arts, and they had no one on the set, and so he said, "Hey, you look like you're Chinese. Do you know martial arts?" Another stereotype, of course. They see a Chinese guy, they're like, "Oh, he must know martial arts." Good thing this guy knew martial arts.
Yeah.
And he said, "Can you teach these two women some martial arts, some choreography?" So he choreographed the two actresses. He ended up getting a role for himself, and ever since they started calling him in as an actor slash stuntman slash henchman kind of thing.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of the most successful. He's he's a legend.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's interesting you're talking about the Asian image. I remember when my brother, when our family moved to Hawaii, and one of the first things people would say to him, "Hey, are you Bruce Lee?" Bruce Lee was the name that people saw in the movies at the time, and everybody kind of looks like him. Yeah.
One time I was doing a photo shoot at San Diego State University, where I was going to school. So I did this photo shoot, and I had to take my shirt off, and I had to do a martial arts pose. This is for a poster of a student film that we had done, where I played the martial arts bad guy, kind of thing. So I was doing a photo shoot, and then people passed by and were like, "Look, Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee." They see an Asian guy with a shirt off, posing like martial arts, and they're like, "Oh, Bruce Lee, Bruce Lee." Yeah, the stereotype was definitely there. Yeah.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah, I know. Right? You either accept it or fight it.
All these Hollywood movies that, they now appropriate Asians in it. They put Asians in there as stars. Why? Because there's a market.
Yes.
Because people will pay tickets. Asians will pay tickets for it. Now because we're in an international market, and Asia is a much bigger market than America, you got to put Asians in there. Number two, more than half of these movies have Chinese investors. So the Chinese are like, put a Chinese girl in there, they'll put money in the movie.
Yeah.
Make the good guy Chinese guy, I'll put money in the movie. That kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, thanks to Korea and China for promoting the Asian race.
Yeah.
They sunk money into the Hollywood movies. They bought Hollywood studios, so they can promote the Asian race, so to speak.
Yeah, you can't wait for somebody else to do it. You got to do it yourself. In terms.
At the end of the day, it's all about propaganda. Everything in life is all about propaganda, and Hollywood has taught us that. It has nothing to do with who's better than who. It's what matters is who you think is better because of what the media portrays.
Yeah.
So what is the popular consensus? So yeah.
Yeah, the media is pretty strong out there in terms of
Yeah.
shaping people's thinking.